kind of a fan, is Andrew Ferenbach, my ladies and gentlemen. That is a very tough act to follow. I'll just say that for free. Anyway. Also, for the record, I have phenomenal genes. But anyway. I also have a wife with a homicidal streak, so no. Anyway. But that's a story for another time. So, I'm originally from Edinburgh, but before I came to Aarhus for 23 years, I lived in Dundee. And most of you haven't heard of Dundee, that's okay. That makes this bit even easier. Basically, when I told my friends I was moving to Dundee, they told me about a few things. They said, Dundee is the stabbing capital with knives. They made that very, very clear because Glasgow is the stabbing capital with every other single object in the toolkit. If it has a point, Glaswegians will stab you with it. But this routine is not about Glasgow, that was a previous one. Anyway, so back to Dundee. They also said something very strange to me. They said, oh, you're going to Dundee, you're going to order a pear. And I was like, what? It turns out the syllable I does not exist in Dundee, because in all the old mills in Dundee, they had a machine that would continuously, all day long, go I the whole time. And so, for people to have a conversation, they had to lose the syllable I and replace it with the syllable eh. And so, it's not 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's not a pie and chips, it's a pear and chips. And this is actually completely true. Also, when I first moved to Dundee, I didn't know an awful lot about it apart from pears and stabbing. So, I was walking through Dundee city centre and I thought to myself, this is like the friendliest place in the world. I mean, look at this place. There's all these lovely big sisters walking around with baby buggies and their little brothers and sisters. They're just letting their mothers have a nice relaxed day and they're going out, around town. Until I realized there's no such thing as a big sister in Dundee. They're the mothers. Dundee is actually the teenage pregnancy capital of Scotland. So all of these girls were girls who clearly left it a bit late. They were 16 and they had a baby. Anyway. That's also not the point of this story. The point was, I went to Dundee for my PhD, and this was the second time I left home, and my mother thought, hey, it would be a super idea to give me something to remind me of home. And what she gave me was a triple batch of her chicken liver pate, which, for the record, is absolutely amazing. Seriously, it is like comfort, in solid form. Yeah. Anyway. But it has a slight price that if you eat it, then you will be gassy. And so, I was in a new town, I was nervous, I was stressed, I thought, oh, home comforts. I would have a whole bunch of pate. But then, of course, that evening, I could barely hear my new friends' names because I was farting the whole time. And it's like, so where are you from? But then, of course, I'd come home from one of those evenings and think, that was super awkward farting all the time, I'm going to have some pate. And so this whole positive feedback loop repeated itself many times over. And then, thankfully I ran out of pate eventually, thank goodness for that. Anyway, but then after that, it took me about a year, I finally got myself a girlfriend. And she noticed I was kind of a gassy sort of a fellow, so she thought, right, I'm going to cure him. Like any woman who thinks you can change her man. It was hilariously incorrect. She went to a herbalist and she bought aloe vera juice, which actually was not half bad, but the point was, it gave me compulsive inspiration. I was coming out with continuous one-liners the whole time. It was like she was living with Jerry Seinfeld, and she and I both hate Jerry Seinfeld. So she was like, right, you're not even getting to finish this aloe vera juice, and it goes away. So anyway, that goes away, but then she's like, okay, regroup. What else can cure gas? So, one Google later, she hears charcoal. Charcoal can cure gas. So oh yes, from the facial expression, you are exactly correct. It was genuinely like I was eating tiny little charcoal briquettes, which you should never ever chew unless you want your teeth to go black. Exactly, so instead I was like this, scarfing these things like M&Ms. But then, wait for it, there's another price to be paid. I didn't need toilet paper, I needed a chimney sweep. I was farting soot, and yep, I was still farting, so what was the point? Anyway, so after all that, my girlfriend, who then became my wife, so clearly the farting wasn't that big of a deal, eventually Brexit took place, and eventually we had to move to, Aarhus, which is a wonderful, wonderful place. But then, of course, I arrived, and here, lo and behold, is Danish cuisine. And amongst all those wonderful things that those Danes do so well is, and I've been rehearsing how to say this, Leberwurst is available in all good stores in large, tasty bricks. And, well, you know, hey, I mean, I'm stressed, it's a new place, I might as, I'm going to tuck into the local delicacies. So sure enough, yeah, I'm discouraged heavily from eating leberwurst for the obvious reason. And no, I'm not eating charcoal again, I've learned my lesson. Hey, you guys have been wonderful, thank you so very much.